I'm curious to see if anyone is shocked by this. Bumble is done for.
This app was at the top of their game. 58 million users, a $2.2 billion IPO, over $1 billion in revenue. Now, look at that stock graph. Down 95%. Revenue is falling, profit has collapsed, and users are fleeing. What happened? As it turns out, something much bigger is happening. Dating apps across the board are dying, and Bumble is the biggest loser.
Bumble's the worst app. Out of all the apps, it is the worst one. If you've ever used it, you know it's
To
awful.
understand what happened, we need to look at why Bumble worked, and that brings us to its founder, Whitney Wolfe Herd, who actually co-founded Tinder. Reportedly, Herd gave Tinder its name and logo, leading its aggressive marketing on campus. Pretty pivotal. But then, she was forced out.
I wonder why.
A
Oh,
lawsuit quickly emerged, which eventually led to a settlement of a bit over $1 million. Sounds like a lot,
interesting.
but considering how big Tinder was becoming, Herd was done pretty dirty. But she soon had another opportunity from Tinder's rival, Badoo. Andre
Badoo.
Andreev, the entrepreneur behind the
Andrew. Sorry, that is insane.
dating app with over 425 million registered users worldwide,
I'm sitting here laughing at Badoo. Badoo has 425 million registered users. What is Badoo? It sounds like bidet. Badoo. It seems poppin'. I wonder what the whole idea behind that app is.
had spent years trying to break into the American market, with mixed results. Then he saw the lawsuit. Herd seemed like the perfect fit. He wanted her to become Badoo's CMO, but she pitched something else. Bumble. This time, if two people matched, the woman had to message first. If you didn't use these apps, that might sound strange. Why do
Terrible
that?
idea.
To quote Herd herself, what if women made the first move, send the first message, and if they don't, the match disappears after 24 hours, like in
So that sounds good in theory. It really does sound good in theory. But no, women don't have experience doing that. They've never had to learn to do that. It's not a skill that we want to have or feel like we should have. Or like, this is such a bad idea. It was such a bad idea from inception.
Cinderella, the pumpkin, and the carriage. What if we could hardwire that into a product?
Huh?
Andreev didn't love the idea, but he trusted Herd. He offered $10 million in funding, but in exchange, he would own 79% of Bumble. Though Herd would have total creative control, and Bumble could use Badoo's software infrastructure, a huge head start. In just the first 5 months, Bumble passed 100,000 downloads.
In the
8 months,
first month?
over 5 million unique conversations in-app. Then, from 1 million downloads in 2015 to 8 million the next year to 12 to 17. Revenue was climbing and passed 200 million. Women loved this app, but so did a lot of men, who often felt a lot of pressure to make the first move on Tinder. Plus, this was by design. I'm so tired of this notion
The idea, what I think she's about to say is the idea is on regular dating apps, the girls will never, like, they just won't respond. So the guys will message their matches and then the girls will just take their pick of the matches. So they won't respond to every single person that matches with them. So guys are getting tired of like, okay, well, I'm matching with her. She's not like the girls that I match with aren't messaging me or the ones that I want to message me aren't messaging me. So let me just get on this app where every single girl has to be the first one to make the first move. So if, like I don't have to worry about getting like a message or not getting a message.
that women only need to support women. Why can't we all support each other? I've run into women who can be highly problematic,
What?
detrimental, and mean, just like I've seen that in men. The one difference of women messaging first really was huge. Then, out of nowhere, came a road bump. A big one. While Bumble was doing great, Andreev's empire was imploding. But
Andrew,
not for the reasons you might expect.
going down
As
the
the PR was
Andre.
getting worse and worse, Andreev sold his stake in Magic Lab, a parent of Bumble and Badoo, to Blackstone for $3 billion. Bumble was now owned by the world's largest private equity firm. Though Herd kept her 19% stake, and the entire operation was merged into Bumble Inc., with her as CEO.
Isn't Blackstone bad? Or no, wait, that's BlackRock. BlackRock. Are they bad? I don't know. I keep hearing things about it.
I think Blackstone saw that the real thing making money was Bumble. So it worked out well for Herd, and by now, Bumble was unstoppable. It was America's fastest growing dating app. Revenue jumped from 240 million to over 300.
For a good minute there, it really was like the talk of the apps. It was the app for a good second. Now, I'll be the first one to say Bumble BFF, and I think now they're trying to do like Bumble networking and like different things aside from dating are pretty good. I actually met a girl on Bumble BFF and it was kind of cool.
30 million. Then came the moment everything was building toward. February 11th, 2021, the IPO. It started with shares priced at $43, raising $2.2 billion. The stock opened at $76, jumping more than 76% in a single day. Almost
That's
overnight, the
insane.
market valued Bumble at roughly $14 billion. At 31, Whitney Wolf Herd was now a billionaire and still with an 11.6% stake. Everything was going great. Then Bumble made a change, and a critical one at that. One which started a long chain of dominoes that would lead to the app's collapse.
Maybe I was out of the game before this because I don't remember. Uh-oh. I wonder
Something
what it
strange
is.
happened after the IPO. Just months later, on September 9th, 2021, Bumble announced Blackstone would be selling 18 million shares at $54 a share.
Okay.
So why does this matter?
Yeah.
Well, it gives us some very important context. Private equity firms like Blackstone are built to buy companies, grow them fast, then sell them at the highest possible price. And that's on top of the $2 billion of shares it sold during the IPO. Though it wasn't all their shares in Bumble, so keep that in mind. But investors began to think, maybe Bumble had already peaked? And in a way, they were right.
Why would you think that
Nonetheless,
prematurely?
this sent the stock down. But Blackstone wasn't done yet. Keep them in mind for later. In the meantime, there was finally a bit of good news. In 2021, Bumble reported $286 million in net income. Its
Wow.
first profitable year ever. Then
Look at that year compared to the others. Can I go back? We don't need to go back, but it was so much more than all the others. They were all in the negative.
in February 2023, Bumble forecasted revenue growth even above projections. This was big, but something else made this seem even better. Herd's old opponent, Tinder, was struggling. Tinder, aka their parent Match Group, forecasted revenue below expectations, their first ever quarterly decline.
By the way, this Match Group, I think they're the ones who own like Match.com. I think that's how it started, and then just bloomed into like a ton of apps. And I'm pretty sure, check me on this, that Match Group owns like a bunch of the different apps. So you think that like all these apps aren't owned by the same parent company? Like they probably are, and they're all under this Match Group umbrella.
While Bumble's paying users increased 25% to 2.6 million, 147,000 growing quarter over quarter, Tinder was falling off. At least, that's how it seemed.
Tinder took a
So the board
nosedive.
approved a $150 million stock buyback program. Basically, they thought the market undervalued Bumble, and this was big. Showing they were succeeding while Tinder struggled pushed the market cap from about $3 billion to $6.5 billion. Not an all-time peak, but this was a great sign. Maybe Bumble was just getting started? Unfortunately, you might notice the rest of the graph. Tinder wasn't really struggling. It was more that the entire industry began to struggle. Global dating app downloads had fallen from
But
200
then it doesn't seem like all of the other apps tanked as hard as Bumble did. It seemed like
87
Bumble
million
was
in
big on it.
2020 to around 237 million by 2023, a 17% drop in just 3 years. Tinder's paying users started shrinking and kept shrinking, down to 9.3 million with
Because what happens is when people are on these apps for so long and they're not getting, I guess, the desired result out of it, then they're gonna leave and they're gonna give up on it. A lot of people give up on the apps, and that's probably, I think it was a big mass exodus of people off of the apps because there was just no like success. People felt like they weren't achieving the success that they wanted.
quarterly revenue dropping to 491 million. Match Group, Tinder's parent company, had lost nearly 80% of its peak value. Then, the same happened to Bumble, a gigantic share drop in August. So, what was happening? Among college and graduate students in the US, 79% said they weren't using dating apps at all.
They just
By
they're done.
2023, around 61% of users were between 30 and 49 years old. I think many millennials, the generation that helped dating apps explode, were slowly aging out of app-based dating, while Gen Z weren't as keen.
So us old geezers flooded the pool, and then the young people were like, "We are out of here. It's just full of bunch of old losers."
In late 2023, Herd stepped down from the CEO role and was replaced by Lydian Jones, who led Salesforce's Slack. Herd might have been a good visionary leader for Bumble. Jones wasn't. She had big plans, but they were all pretty
Look
awful.
at her Slack pin.
First, she laid off 350 employees. Then, just 2 months later, she announced a new feature called Opening Moves. For the first time in Bumble's history, women no longer had to message first. Instead,
Love
women
it.
could
Why is
post
that
prompts on their
bad?
profile for men to respond to. Not exactly the same as Tinder, but it was pretty darn close. It's basically just Tinder now. Giving both parties the ability to drive first engagement while pretending it's woman is a good way to have your cake and eat it too. The novelty of woman initiating is why I opened an account with Bumble.
So I
Take
guess
that
the
away,
guys
and the
got
Bumble
mad
will
about
just
that.
fall out of the circulation of apps I check in on. I genuinely don't know what Jones was thinking. You need to change things for sure, but why do this? Why remove
I guess what happens, especially in this situation, is she took away what differentiated Bumble from the other apps and then made it just another app that's like the rest and took away its uniqueness, like the thing that was special about Bumble. So I get that.
what makes your app stand out?
Right.
Unfortunately for Bumble, things were only getting worse. We just passed 900,000 subscribers.
Ooh,
And
nice.
I just want to say thank you all so much. This ride has been awesome.
Subscribe, everybody.
And
Subscribe.
we're almost at 1 million now.
Original video link is in the
Unsurprisingly,
description.
Bumble's market value had collapsed to around $1 billion. Then, after just 1 year as CEO, Lydia and Jones quit, along with Bumble's
year?
CFO and CMO. The entire leadership team behind the rebrand was suddenly gone, leaving her back in control as CEO. I am deeply grateful for the
So she made one change, ruined the company, and then bailed? She didn't even try to fix her mistake. That's hilarious. Girl, come on.
transformative work Lydian has led during such a pivotal time for Bumble, and her leadership has been instrumental in building a strong foundation for our future. I'm pretty sure Heard was just saving face for Jones here.
100%.
Regardless, she was back, though she didn't really want to be. I had no intention of coming back. Bumble needs me back. It's an extension of me to some degree.
She feels
and
like she has to
watching it
save her
fall from its
baby.
peak has been very hard. She now had to clean up this mess, and unfortunately, the industry was in a pretty bad spot. In just 12 months, Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge lost roughly 1.1 million users in the UK. 78% of Gen X, 80% of millennials, and 79% of Gen Z were burnt out of dating apps.
It's a burnout.
Over time, the unfortunate misgivings of being on a dating app can cause someone to lose hope in the dating process and finding the right person. But it gets worse. By this time, Blackstone had also cashed out big time.
They
They
knew.
sold 11 million shares in 2023, then another 11 million in 2024, each time the price per share dropping lower. They had made about $2 billion from the investment, though Bumble stock was now down 94%. And
Eee.
we're still not done. Match Group had returned even stronger, not with Tinder, but Hinge. By 2025, Hinge was generating $691 million in revenue.
Wow.
Just 7 years earlier, it had made only $8 million.
Oh my
The app
gosh.
had exploded to around 32 million users worldwide, with nearly 2 million paying subscribers. By this point, a date was being set up on Hinge every 2 seconds. So why was Hinge exploding? Hinge had a unique goal: get the user to delete it. Sounds weird, but the goal was to get the users a successful relationship so they could move on.
But you would think that that's every app's goal. Is this just some kind of like new goal? Like, oh my God, now we're the app that actually works. It's like, no, but all the apps are supposed to do that. That's supposed to be every dating app's goal. That shows how shady these apps are.
Instead of giving users unlimited swipes, the app limited how many likes could be sent each day. And this completely changed behavior, because on Tinder and Bumble, many would just swipe on every profile. Now, you had to be more intentional.
I just feel like that hurts because you're like, what if you say no to everybody because you think the next, like you want to save your likes for like, what if someone's hotter? What if someone's better? It can go both ways. Like it can be good and bad. And I feel like the bad probably overtook it.
About who you matched with instead of mindlessly swiping hundreds of profiles. Not only that, Hinge became especially popular with the Gen Z, at least those still using dating apps. Almost half of its user base is between 18 and 29. Plus, many users are paying users. So, what did Her do? Layoffs. Around 240 employees were cut in a single
Dang,
wave,
when they were making
bringing
money?
total layoffs to nearly 600
Bumble.
people in just 18 months. Meanwhile, Bumble's user base had already fallen from 58 million users to around 50 million. Then came the bigger shift in 3 parts. First, Bumble stopped trying to attract everyone, and instead only the right people. Basically,
Ooh.
Her launched a major overhaul, which she called a quality reset, removing all kinds of fake accounts or low-intent users who lowered the dating experience and made it more spammy. Next came
works,
killing the
that helps.
swipe entirely, and with that change, Bumble also moved entirely away from the very thing that made it famous: woman messaging first. We will be basically bottling the essence of what was always meant to be women making the first move. A confident experience, a safe experience, a dynamic experience to get you offline in person on great dates and meetups. Jones had already
She's
somewhat
trying.
removed that dynamic by this point anyway, and this was more an entire reset than what Jones did. But how would they do so? Well, take a guess. AI. Now, instead of women or even men doing the swiping, AI will become the matchmaker, specifically the in-app AI, Bee. Oh boy. Though it wouldn't encourage AI-generated photos or messages, thankfully.
These AI names, like everyone names their AI. It's like B, and it's like you have to have a character or like some funky, quirky name. It's like, okay, it's getting ridiculous at this point.
AI tool will scan user data to learn their values, relationship goals, communication style, and lifestyle through private chats. Once B considers 2 people compatible, both are notified in the app with a summary explaining why they are a strong match. But it doesn't stop there. Bumble is basically moving to a date chosen for you instead of opting in or swiping. Like scrolling on TikTok versus clicking a YouTube video. Not that swiping was really that great of a method in the first place, but annoying to see another app move to AI. Can Bumble turn things around? Well, their Q1 2026 revenue was also down as much as 14.1%, but earnings increased 165%. It seems the era of high growth is over. Now, Bumble is just trying to stay alive and profitable. Another app with an even stranger story is Be
That's such
Real.
a weird
This
one.
app exploded, but it quickly disappeared. Fans gradually got more and more annoyed with it, but even stranger, the founders seem to have no plan on how to make money. Click here to learn the rest of that story.
Yeah, like that Be Real was such a weird app at one point. It was like everybody, and I think if I'm not mistaken, you take a picture of yourself like in real time, and you have to take a picture like that second. It can't be like uploaded. It has to be like real life, like be real, like show us like how you are right now. And it's like, I'm not gonna, what, I'm on the toilet, I'm freaking look like crap. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna just take a picture of myself right now. Anyway, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. Bye bye.